Welcome back to the channel, you guys, and in today's video we have the latest addition to Quadmula's lineup. This is the Siren F5S2, the 5-inch frame that was specifically designed for the O4 air unit and to be able to accommodate the camera, give it better field of view for the O4. I've been flying this quite a bit, having a total blast, so let's go ahead and hop into some details. When compared to its predecessor, there really is no difference between this 5-inch frame and any other 5-inch frame that Quadmula has ever released. They all fly totally incredible. If you are an owner of Quadmula frames, I'm sure you already know that by now. Building with these things are really amazing. Makes it a much more enjoyable experience when you have everything sort of thought out and planned for you of where things are going to go in the build. And of course, again, this is no different than any of those. Later on in this video, I'm going to be showcasing some flying footage that I've gotten with this exact build using the DJI Action 2, as well as, of course, the O4 air unit. I do really want to start moving towards using the O4 air unit more for my action camera footage, mostly because I've just been having really terrible luck with the Action 2s. This is my last one, and it just kind of barely works. I wouldn't doubt if it probably just totally craps on me today. And moving forward, I'm just kind of tired of replacing them all the time. So I really want to start relying on O4 footage. In order to do that, I typically will fly in 4K 60 FPS. That's just how I choose to do it. It is not the optimum way to fly in terms of latency, but I'm just telling you from my personal experience, I am not affected by latency in that way to where it's detrimental to my flying. I don't think so. I think I can fly just fine in 4K 60 on this air unit, be able to get the better quality footage and still be able to maintain my flying capabilities. I know some of you guys do not prefer to do that, and I totally understand. That is the major drawback with the O4 air unit, you know, getting the FPV feed at the lowest possible latency, you know, while simultaneously getting good quality video. It's impossible because it's the same feed, right? So that being said, that is what it is. That's how I choose to fly. I'm totally okay with it. Maybe you are too, and if you are, this is a really good frame to do that with. With the Gen F5S2 SP, there was some concern in terms of the protection for the O4 camera in that particular build. I've been flying that one a lot lately as well, and I have not damaged it at all. I think it has to do a lot with the fact that it's a much lighter build, and even though I do have a much higher tilt angle on my camera, it's been perfectly fine for me. I have not done anything in terms of damage to the camera on that O4. This particular time, though, I did kind of want to do something with a little bit more protection and emphasis on that with a larger 5-inch frame, because it does obviously have more inertia. The possibility of damaging it is there, especially because I tend to freestyle a lot more with 5-inch frames on like bandos and you know, places where I can do more damage. So we've gone ahead and I've worked with somebody, one of my dear friends, to be able to provide a little more emphasis in terms of protection there. And we're going to go ahead and talk about that right now. Let's go ahead and head over to the bench, take a nice close look of this frame, and then after that we'll get into some flying. So here we are taking an up close and personal look at the new Siren F5S2. This is the latest offering from Quadmula. Nicholas from the future here. In this image, you see the very early prototype that I had worked with Robert Ramiro, also known as Richard Fly in the FPV community. If you don't know who he is, he's an amazing human being, amazing pilot. Definitely go check him out. But we worked together to create this TPU piece for the front of the frame that added some protection for the O4 camera lens. It does kind of protrude out, especially if you fly at higher camera angles like I do, and I wanted to come up with something that was going to be a little bit of a protective measure in case of a front-end impact, and we did this originally in the early days of the frame. But since then, Quadmula has taken the time to create their own design. It is pretty freaking phenomenal. Does an excellent job of not only protecting, but just kind of looking a lot better. Let's check that out real quick. This is a really sleek design from Quadmula, and I'm really impressed with it because of the amount of protection that it offers, as well as having enough space for you to be able to use any of the ND filters that you might see out there on the market right now. I like filming with ND filters because it adds a little bit of that motion blur, especially when filming at 60 FPS. It just looks much better in terms of the image quality, in my opinion. That's how I achieve my, what I would say is the preferred image quality out of the O4. I record in 60 FPS using an ND filter, and then I sample it down to 30 FPS in post. To me, it just looks better that way. But overall, the design is absolutely perfect. I begged them for this, and I'm so glad that they delivered, because we really needed the protection on a 5-inch. The basis of this design and why it is slightly different from the original Siren is that the front end is much wider, as you can see, and the difference between this one and this one is that this one has the width of the front end that'll allow for better FOV when you have higher camera tilts versus this one. If you have higher camera tilts, you're definitely going to get, you know, the top of the frame in view of the FOV, and that's something that's kind of been a little bit of an issue and why they ultimately came up with this design for the latest Siren F5. This is raw and unstabilized footage from the O4 Air unit. This is in 4K 60 FPS, 4:3 ultra wide, using the flat color profile, so you get the entire sensor in this image. And you can see I fly at about a 30-degree camera tilt, so it's pretty up high, and you see just a tad bit of the DJI Action 2 camera mount in the top right and left corners of this screen, but it's very easy to crop those out. This is the same image, the same thing that we were just looking at. The only difference is this is with rock steady on, so this is stabilized. You can see it's already done the cropping for you. You don't even see the Action 2 camera mount in the top right or left of this image, which is pretty nice considering that you're getting that full FOV in Rocksteady. If you do choose to use stabilization, you don't have to do any additional cropping, unless of course you want to either put this into 16:9 or 9:16 for some sort of like a mobile short or something along those lines. You definitely have a lot here to work with, a lot of space. Much different from the original Siren, where you would have seen a lot more of the frame or the sides of the plates or something like that in the image of the O3 when you were using that one. So yeah, very happy with this FOV. You know, with this design, you're going to get a little bit of the props in view because that's just the nature of a 5-inch X. This is not a true X, but a squashed X, but you're still going to get a little bit of the props in view in this situation. But overall, if you use props that are like translucent black, you'll barely even notice that. And again, you'll see that in the flight footage as I get out there and start doing some flying with this thing. All of the STLs that we've used or designed or anything like that, any part of the community who's allowed me to share, I include those in my Google Drive, which is a community folder that I have on Google Drive. The link is in the description below. You guys can check that out, and you'll have access to the STLs that I've used or that I've designed, such as things like this. You know, Robert designed this one, but also even this one right here, which is featured in the last video with the Gen F5S2. We did something like this where we were able to shrink down the camera mounting, or the antenna mounting, sorry, to be able to provide it more protection, more closer compact design to the body, which is going to make it last much longer instead of having the antennas exposed. I don't recommend doing that if you're flying freestyle. So this design will also be on there for you guys to utilize. It's pretty cool because it also incorporates I use Tracer, but I have my control link antenna in here. You can put a ELRS antenna in here if you like. So I love this design a lot from Stu Jones. Thank you, Stu. Love you for doing that for us as well. In terms of the air unit mounting, this is the same idea that they went with the Gen F5S2, where they've got the 20x20 and also the 25x25 mounting options for you back here. But yeah, I've been absolutely loving this frame. Outside of that, there is nothing different to this frame. If you have the older Siren frames, you can use the same arms and every other piece other than the top plate and the bottom plate down here. Those two are different, and there's also like a little little plate in between. If you look what they've done, this is actually a great way to sort of kind of add to the rigidity of the frame. They've added an additional plate of carbon here, so you've got basically 2 layers of carbon. So the top of it is more protected than the original Siren used to be, which only had the single plate, right? So you can get that in focus there. But that is a really good design feature that they have added to this. I'm really liking that, because having that extra layer of protection for the O4 camera I think is important, and that's what this new frame has done. So those are the big changes. If you're looking to pick something like this up, and like I said, if you've been a previous owner of the Siren F5 models, you have plenty of arms and stuff on hand, you'll be able to use all those same arms for this frame as well. So that's pretty great. Yeah, let's go ahead and get out there and get some flying in. Pretty excited to try this thing out and see how well it does.
Had to sign a deal with no hesitation. How I'm feeling is impossible to measure. Went through so much pain to finally get to pleasure. I don't trust a fucking soul, I learned my lesson. Now I'm charged up like a fucking lethal weapon. People tell me it's my time, it's now or never. All I tell them is that legends last forever. Cause I ain't even Change a million things, but never switch the message. I ain't working on my life or not to pay off. I put these people in a trance like it's a seance. I ain't even lost a step, it's been a decade. Change a million things, but never switch the message. I ain't working on my life or not to pay off. I put these people in a trance like it's a seance. I got fool's forgiveness for granting the devil's wishes. They'll try to twist your vision till you get lost seeking vengeance. I know my younger self wouldn't recognize my resemblance. I've got danger senses, survivor's intuition. That's why I don't trust a fucking soul. I learned my lesson. Now I'm charged up like a fucking lethal weapon. People tell me it's my time, it's now or never. All I tell them is that legends last forever. Cause I ain't even lost a step, it's been a decade. Change a million things, but never switch the message. I ain't working on my life or not to pay off. I put these people in a trance like it's a seance. I ain't even lost a step, it's been a decade. Change a million things,